my viewers in the Western Hemisphere. Good, very early morning to my viewers in the Pacific Rim. Welcome to the Angry Astronaut. Sorry that we don't have a live introduction or anything. This is a sort of a test broadcast that we're doing right now, because we have been running into all kinds of technical challenges thus far, because of a wide variety of issues. I mean, just trying to film anything in Shetland, in Unst, is just absolutely insane. First of all, just go ahead and check in. Where is everybody checking in from? I'm sorry. Where's everybody checking in from? They do it. I thought they did pad clearance. Okay. I know why this is coming up. Is there a way we can mute the audio? Sorry. Thank you. All right, so let's see here. We got Holland. Hello. I'm so glad you guys can actually hear me. We have Washington State, London. We also have Manchester. Thank you very much for checking in. Hello, Israel, Ontario, Canada, Newcastle upon Tyne, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Oregon, USA, Dublin, Texas. We have Leeds. Hello, thank you very much for joining us. We have Weymouth and Vienna. We have Northern Ireland. Thank you very much for checking in today. DeLand, Florida. Yeah, it's crazy windy here. It's always windy here in Shetland. That is one of the many issues that we always have to be contending with. We have another one out of Germany, the Philippines. Thank you so much for checking in Italy. Hello, Yorkshire. Hello, Milky Way, Ontario, Canada. Audio, yeah, choppy. That is definitely the wind that's causing it. Although I think I may be able to do something about that. Just one moment, and I may be able to help out with the wind just a tad. Just a second. All right. And sorry about the image as I work to try to fix this. What I had is I had a couple of USB cables to try to charge. I had a more resilient one that could. All right. Does that make things any better for you guys? Is the wind any better? Hello, Belgium. Thank you very much for checking in. Really, really appreciate it. So yeah, we've got over 70 people watching right now. Once again, just want to go ahead and clarify that we are at the most northerly beach in all of the United Kingdom. We are on the island of Unst, which is the most northerly island of the Shetland Island chain, and we are watching the RFA wet dress rehearsal for the static fire that's coming up on Sunday. Is the latest news that we have about this. The static fire is the one of two remaining hurdles that remain for before we can go ahead and launch this baby. And the first is, of course, well, we have this, and then we have the static fire, but only 5 engines on Sunday. And then after that, it will be 9 engines in the middle of next week. And then after that, this rocket will be ready to launch, although there could be a delay based on CAA rather, regulatory delays, which are likely to delay the actual launch until September. So that means I'm going to have to come all the way back. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys joining me this evening. We've just gotten some word that it is going to be. Imagine that the world laughed the first time SpaceX static fired a rocket. You're right. I mean, everybody thought that SpaceX was going to fail. And it didn't, obviously didn't go that way. Everybody thought that a private company simply could not measure up to what NASA had been accomplishing for all those years. And then SpaceX demonstrated that not only could they could do it better. And that's what RFA is setting out to do here, is to do it not only better, but also do it a lot less expensively. The rocket that you're looking at right now, and once again, I know that the image is probably not the best, but it represents the sum total of a lot of reused components. RFA makes use of a lot of other components that are designed for other industries. Their cranes were designed for other industries. Just a lot of the fabrication, the electronics. There are so many things involved in the construction of this rocket that did not begin life and in the aerospace industry. And they're using a lot of off-the-shelf stuff too. So they've really reduced the cost of building a rocket in a big way. But of course, the drawback, could be reliability. So we'll see how all that works out. But it of course is problematic. The idea of making use of nothing but recycled parts could be an issue, but RFA is out to prove that it's not going to be an issue, that they're going to be able to make this work um, regardless. So I think that, and by the way, I've had an opportunity to meet with and talk with lots of people who work for this company, all the way from engineers and IT professionals, aerospace and launch. As a matter of fact, a number of these young people are out here today. They've joined us out here on the beach, although they've gone a long ways away, all the way over there to the end of the peninsula. And by the way, you will see over there these concrete bunkers. Those bunkers date back to the Second World War, when this island was a nerve center of UK military operations. And then to the right of the launch pad that you're looking at right now, you will see a building that is sort of red stripe, gray, and then sort of an off gray. That is the hangar and integration facility. Currently, they have one clean room in there, but that is just a temporary clean room designed to be used by RFA just for this particular launch. In the near future, they will have two hangars, two clean rooms, and the capability of integrating two rockets simultaneously from two different customers. So they'll be able to have high impulse from Germany, for example, in one hangar and RFA in the other. Or they might have ABL, assuming that they can finally get a rocket into orbit from Kodiak. They could be in one hangar and you have RFA in the other. So this is going to be a very unique experience. I wish I could zoom in more, but this is zoomed in with the camera that I'm using, unfortunately, and this is definitely zoomed in compared to what you would see ordinarily. So I wish I could give you something a bit better, but this is about as good as it's going to get, sadly. So that's the situation. We have had multiple delays, however, with with the tanking test. We actually now have just been notified that we're not going to have the pad cleared for over an hour. So chances are there's going to be additional delays before we actually get going on this thing. So now we need to think about how we're going to handle this broadcast. To be honest, I don't know if I want to just continue talking for hours when nothing is happening on the pad. Like I say, all we have is a pad clearance coming up in a little over an hour. But then prop loading and all that is likely to be substantially after that. So it's possible that we are going to push this out a little bit. Boy, I'm looking at the image though, and I'll tell you, even though this is obviously nowhere near up to NASA spaceflight levels, that actually looks way better than anything I've ever done before. I know that's not saying much, but that's certainly a lot better than anything I've ever done. As to watch for the cliff on the right, yeah, Captain Quinn, unfortunately, that is inside the exclusion zone, and I'm not permitted. Right now, from this location, I am actually less than 2 kilometers away from the pad. So I am way, way, way closer than I ever get for a Starship static fire, Starship tanking test. I'm way closer than any of that. And that is, of course, because this is a smaller rocket, about 30 meters tall. Boy, according to this, we have a good feed apparently across the board. That's great news. Let me think. Okay, I'm trying to find a way to make this. Right now, I'm actually making use of a colleague's cell phone to see the text. I don't want to keep his cell phone. How would you? I think we might be able to set up my laptop, and then we could do it that way. If I could get your assistance in doing that, then I can actually see the chat. Um, so, however, I would need you to do all that if you're willing to do it. I can't. It's in my backpack. There's power cords down there. If you want to maybe set it on the. I'm talking, by the way, to a gentleman from Switzerland who is an Emmy Award nominated documentarian who is creating a documentary about the spaceport. Being so nice and kind. Sorry about the shaking image here. I'm just trying to no, on that. If we can find a way where I can be able to see that. Again, no, don't move it. Don't do it. That will mess up the signal. It's good, but actually angle the screen back just a bit. Let's see if that helps. A little bit, yeah. We got a glare. Of course, that's just because we have the sun directly behind it. These are one of the many things that we did think about. Fix yourself. There you are. So not that long. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to do that. So let me see what this looks like when it doesn't have a mega player. 1776 is it. Sorry guys, I apologize for the image. We're trying to figure out. God, I can't put it on my lap. It'll just go crashing off at some point. Then I'll be out of laptop. Well, that would that would be bad for you. Yeah. Why don't you try setting it here? Right. That helps. Okay, guys, we're trying to find a solution. Bear with us. We need to. This wind is going to blow this laptop right off. Of course. Yeah. Guys, we're getting there. Sorry for the shaky image. Actually, yeah, that's plugged in there though. So we got our part-time cameraman stepping in right now. Bear with me while I get this. I'll be there shortly, guys. I need your phone back, please. You guys still have an image? Looks like and where it's inserted. And it isn't. That's because I've lost. I think I've lost. I should. I tried to do it because. I have not lost it. Okay. Thank you. For a moment, I thought it was gone. Okay. Can you do me a favor and fiddle with that laptop and see if you can get it onto the internet? I think I put in the proper code. See it. I can't. I have no idea as to why it's saying that it's connected, but because the password should be entered. I'm going to just check to see what the status is. Is that? All right, folks, we are still trying to get all this working. Bear with us. Once I have this up, won't matter as much. Go to channel. Sorry, guys, we are currently seeing if there's a way for me to suddenly come to the realization of things that could be. I got it. Okay, now it's just a matter of trying to see what people are saying. Okay, guys. Bit by bit. Now, if I can ask you for one other thing, there's a power cable. Plug it into the back of that and plug it into there. Sorry to keep taking the image, guys. We are currently trying to do a million different things, a million pieces of equipment on a park bench. It's in the back. Is it where now I yeah, okay. Here. So now, yep. All right, trying to get the image back to you guys, and once again, really appreciate it, man. What an incredible challenge this whole thing has been. But nevertheless, I can at least vaguely see the chat. That's better than nothing, I suppose. I've seen it where it's sitting around somewhere. Aaron, if you are speaking, I can't hear you. That's all right. I just go ahead and need to make sure that I'm also. Yeah, it's fine. I already did. That's zoomed. Pretty sure that's what it looks like there. It's actually not bad. Actually, that's actually much better than most rockets look like. You can do it in there. This is what it's filming off of. They can't see this. So I'm trying to get. Dick's trying to help me out with getting it better. To get a better image for you folks. But unfortunately, this is zoomed about as much as this thing's capable of doing. regrettably. So once again, what we are waiting for is for the tanking process to begin uh, during this wet dress rehearsal. Okay. Thanks very much, folks. Really appreciate you hanging in there here. Just waiting for the tanking process to begin, which is going to be a little while. Unfortunately, there have been multiple delays with this process. We all know how this works. Any of us who watch NASA spaceflight, watch Lab Padre, etc., we know that these issues all run into it. Yeah, and actually, we kind of have a bit of a windbreak, but unfortunately, the wind is just swirling around it. The wind in Shetland is unbelievable. It is just beyond nasty. I'm going to see maybe if sure. Thank you. So I'm going to see whether or not we can perhaps obstruct the wind a bit more for you guys. But yeah, it's just insane. But again, if you guys are hearing the wind, then you are kind of hearing the way things are here. It's just nuts. Oh, swim? Hell no. Oh my God, in this water? This is a very, very, very cold place. But I appreciate, boy, we have 87 likes on this stream already. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. And once again, it has been a labor of love to try to make all of this possible today. We got Starlink providing the internet here. That's something I've never had before. So now we have Starlink. In addition to that, um, we have uh, we have power out here, which I had to make an emergency trip to Lerwick, which is the only sizable town in Shetland, to try to get a power bank because they weren't able to provide me with power. At first, they thought they could, but then they weren't able to. By the way, in terms of questions about wind, the wind speeds are not an issue for the most part. And the reason for that is, well, I can't exactly give you the engineering reasons, but we must remember that Rocket Lab, they launch from a facility that is very, very similar to this in terms of location, in terms of weather, in terms of just about everything. So that being the case, I'm just trying to get this a bit more centered for you. That being the case, this is something actually that Rocket Lab has had to deal with for quite some time. And according to RFA, they can launch in conditions of up to 80 kilometers per hour. They can hit 80 kph on it and still be able to launch. So yeah, that being the case, it is. But yeah, the wind is definitely not even close to that right now, where I currently am. So yeah, it is interesting. I'm definitely enjoying it. And yes, just to be clear, this is a wet dress rehearsal. We will see tanking. You may be able to see a hint of the of ice forming on the booster. And then there will be a detanking, and that's about the extent of what's going to go on. We this is in preparation for a static fire on Sunday, according to current scheduling, and of course that can always change. A 5-engine static fire followed by a 9-engine static fire approximately 3 or maybe 4 days later. And then after that 9-engine static fire is complete, then that would be the last major step. They, of course, will need to complete the stacking, but they are integrating the payloads right now, actually. We just got a 10-pound super chat. Thank you so much for the tenor. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Captain Quinn, thank you so much for the in knots, about 45 knots, roughly. That would be about the speed that wind speed that they claim they can launch in. Again, this is a setup. This is a company that whose intention is to launch from these kinds of facilities. Sorry, the wind is absolutely pummeling my camera right now. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. You've had smoked eel for breakfast in Holland. I like eel quite a lot. That's definitely a good choice in my opinion. That said, once again, thank you so much for the tenor. I'll tell you, I've invested a hell of a lot of money in equipment today in order to this power bank. Oh my God! In order to get power out here, that was a big investment. We're talking about 500 quid. So yeah, but the good thing is that this will allow me to broadcast from just about anywhere, and that's a great capability and a capability that we want to make sure that we always have. And something I haven't been able to have at all until now. So yeah, definitely enjoying this a lot. Really, once again, really appreciate you guys tuning in. The eel I've always had is at Japanese restaurants. The Japanese they have a dish that puts barbecued eel on rice, and it's just absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite dishes, period. So, once again, feel free to ask any questions. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, this is the first of 3 events that I'm going to be covering while I'm up here in Shetland. I've been waiting for a long time for this to happen. A long time indeed. Money donation not working. I'm not sure what to tell you. I'm sorry. How are you trying to donate? I'm always happy to make it a little bit easier for you to donate. Have I considered getting solar panels to help produce power to feed into the power bank? Yes, Mike, I have. That'd be a great thing to do, but it is a very impractical thing to do in Great Britain because the sun doesn't shine. So yeah, just kind of irritating. Solar sails in Shetland. But yeah, really, wind turbines are the best solution. Interesting. I actually see a scissor lift over at. You could probably see. You may be able to see that as well to the left of the hangar. Also, there is a very sizable lorry. While I was coming back from Lerwick today, which is the only town of any size in Shetland, there was a vehicle behind me with liquid nitrogen on board, and I thought pretty sure that was going to the spaceport. So I went and talked to them, and sure enough, yes, they were going to the spaceport to deliver some liquid nitrogen. Thank you. How late does it get dark up here, says Andy. Thank you so much for the 2 pounds. Really appreciate it. It gets dark maybe midnight, between 11 and midnight, but it never gets totally dark. Not right now. It's a kind of a twilight. So, and by the way, Andy, once again, thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much. So yeah, got the. So we once again we are the only YouTube channel. I think the only journalists of any kind that are covering this event here in Shetland at this beach, which is the northernmost beach in the United Kingdom. We are right at the Arctic Circle, so really, really far north. And again, the reason that this spaceport exists here, the reason that this location is so ideal is because polar launches and sun synchronous launches are ideal the further north you get. And then in addition, this particular location in Unst is located away from populated areas, and all of the launch trajectories will take it out over the open ocean. So yeah, the scissor lift has come down now, I notice. Once again, not 100% certain as to what's going on at the moment, but once again, what we do know is that they're going to be clearing the pad here in the next 40 minutes, and then they are going to begin the tanking process on RFA ONE. And you guys will be able to watch it live here on the Angry Astronaut. And once again, I am the only YouTuber stupid enough to come all the way up here to cover this event. Dedicated enough, whatever you want to call it. But nevertheless, this has been an amazing experience up here in Shetland. The people up here are wonderful, really fantastic folks. People who really look out for each other. This is a place where you don't have to lock your doors at night. There aren't too many places in the world that are like that anymore. Oh my dear God. Goalie just jumps in, gets 500 quid on his first super chat of any kind. I don't know what to say. I am so deeply moved. Thank you so much for that. My God, this man goes and essentially pays for the power bank that I just had to buy today. I'm stunned. Thank you so much. Good Lord, I did not even begin to expect that, goalie. Thank you so much for your incredible generosity. Oh, my head is just spinning. Goalie, we need to make sure, by the way, if you are not currently, you may be, but we need to make sure that we give you Discord access and access to our Patreon channel if you don't already have access to that. We want to make sure that you get access to our Patreon exclusive videos with that huge donation that basically qualified you for the next 10 years or longer on that channel. So thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, goalie is the GOAT. Truer words have never been spoken or written. Thanks again. Okay, so once again, up here at the end of the world, in a painfully beautiful place. Shetland is just such a beautiful place indeed. It's amazing to see all of this take shape. I see the scissor lift has gone up again. Interestingly enough, once again, I'm not sure what that means, but you may be able to see a blue scissor lift just to the left of that building that you're looking at right now. It just went up. And just to the left of that, you may be able to see a hint of blue on the horizon between the launch pad and the building. And that's a very big lorry that they have sitting there. And I think it's the same lorry. It's the same lorry that was following me up today while we were on our way they were on their way to deliver liquid nitrogen for this particular tanking test. So once again, assuming all goes well with this wet dress rehearsal, we will have a Vive engine static fire on Sunday. 5 of the 9 engines will be lit up. By the way, if you guys ever see little splashes in the ocean, those splashes are being created by birds that are fishing at the moment. It's kind of an interesting thing to see. These fish dive bombing the ocean. Really beautiful. What's going on with all that? In any event, once we have a 5-engine static fire on Sunday, then the anticipation is we'll have a 9-engine static fire on about 3 or 4 days after that. We're anticipating Wednesday or Thursday. Again, that is based on unconfirmed information, and it will be subject to the to how this wet dress rehearsal goes. But nevertheless, keep in mind, guys, keep in mind when I was here a year and a half ago, okay, the there was nothing here, nothing at the spaceport. It was just empty concrete pads that were being tested and treated, and just making sure that they were up to standards. The building did not exist, not just its foundations. That's about it. I mean, to think about the progress that has been made here in a year and a half. This facility has gone from being this set of concrete pads and a building that hasn't even been started yet, um, to a facility that is licensed and ready to launch. The CAA has licensed and authorized this spaceport to handle any and all activities associated with the launch. All that's required is to get the go-ahead for the launch providers themselves. But this facility is ready to go. They have an active and functional launch pad. You will also notice in between the building and the launch pad, the rocket, you will see these little bitty buildings, tanks, whatever you want to call them. Those are that's the tank farm. For those of you, of course, who know what a tank farm is, you've seen it many times on SpaceX broadcasts. That is the tank farm for this particular launch facility. Unlike the tank farm for Starship, this tank farm carries liquid oxygen and RP1, not methane. However, the RFA ONE rocket does use staged combustion engines. It does have that staged combustion system, and the staged combustion essentially allows you to reuse the gases that are involved in spinning the turbo pump and then using them again. So there's less wasted propellant, less wasted oxidizer, meaning that you can get more power out of the same amount of propellant and the same amount of oxidizer. And yeah, this is the first of the Saxavord launch pads, as Mike just pointed out. Thank you so much, Trailman. Thank you so much for the $50. Really, really appreciate that. This is also your first super chat of any. Wow. I am stunned with the amazing generosity that's been coming over tonight. Thank you so much, guys. Wow. Thank you so much for this amazing support that you guys have been bringing to the table. So yeah, so the RFA ONE does have the staged combustion solution for its engines. It has 9 of those engines, and this rocket has approximately quadruple the capability, the payload capability of the Rocket Lab Electron. It can carry approximately 1.3 metric tons to low Earth orbit. It can deliver about 1 full metric ton to Sun synchronous orbit. But most importantly, in my opinion, it can deliver 150 kilograms to the moon. So it can actually, in theory, be a part of the Artemis program. If we can get those communication satellites and other satellites that are going to be used for their network and for their infrastructure for Artemis, RFA ONE has the capability to deliver those kinds of satellites all the way out to the moon. And they can do it for less than $5 million. That's how cheap it is to launch this rocket. And again, that's because of all of the recycled components, all of the off-the-shelf components that are being used in order to engineer this rocket. And yeah, quite fascinating indeed what they're trying to accomplish here. So yeah, you're right, Treespire, a good, useful payload capability. Like I say, well over a metric ton that's capable of delivering quite a number of CubeSats, lots of CubeSats, but also even a fairly sizable satellite could fit into this thing and be launched. And keep in mind that this RFA is supported by the German satellite industry, including the largest, and once again, forgive me, I'm forgetting their names, the largest German satellite manufacturer, and they are one of the largest satellite manufacturers on the planet. And they are providing a great deal of the financial support for RFA. So it is a very, yeah, it's still well out of my price range. Very, very true indeed. But if you consider that, a lunar payload, regardless of how small, 150 kilograms, that's about 330 pounds for all of you in America watching this. Ability, and if you could launch that much to the moon, um, with for only $5 million, really, there aren't too many companies that can make that boast. Jackery, it's an EcoFlow, whatever that is, an EcoFlow power bank that I'm using right now. That's what they had, by the way, at Shetland Power Tools. I want to give a shout out to the incredible people at Shetland Power Tools who had one of these in stock, gave me all the advice that I would need in order to make practical use of it out here. Because I'll tell you, I thought the spaceport thought they were going to be able to give me power today, and then at the 11th hour, turned out that they weren't going to be able to. So I was on the 6:30 a.m. Ferry to Lerwick today to get all the way down there to try to find a power bank, and that is what Shetland Power Tools did for me. Really fantastic. Lots of crossover between rocket manufacturing and maritime shipbuilding or oil drilling stands. That is actually true. And as a matter of fact, that you may think, it may occur to you, that this launch pad kind of looks like an oil platform, doesn't it? And that's because that's exactly what it is. It is a repurposed oil platform. A lot of the components, a lot of the steel, a lot of everything was taken from the oil industry in order to build this thing. And once again, very good idea because given the fact that it's being subjected to so much rain, so much salt, everything else, that obviously you want to have something that's going to be able to endure the environment of this kind of place, and that is exactly what it's capable of doing. So yeah, really interesting, really fascinating what these folks are doing. There's a group of RFA employees who are actually out here at the beach with me. They've gone way out to the end of the peninsula. Interestingly enough, I think they went out there they thought it's a better place to watch, and also they don't have to listen to my annoying ass. So in any event, yeah, super excited about that. I think we're going to have more RFA personnel coming out as time goes on. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad EcoFlow looks like a good one, Captain. And you know what? I would have bought whatever they had. So I'm just glad that they had a solution for me that worked out very, very well indeed. Okay. So, in any event, we currently have about 26 minutes before we're going to have pad clear, according to my latest notifications. I don't know, that could change, but that is the current situation that I've been told. Is we're going to have a pad clear here shortly, and then the tanking beginning shortly after that. So let's hope. Thank you, Rockin' Robbins. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. Well, a lot of people have told me that I have the gift of gab. So I suppose that's precisely what I have. By the way, some big cruise ships comes along. Cruise ships make a pass by here every now and then. There was a huge one that just passed by about an hour and a half ago, I would say approximately. Uh, so yeah, that's it's interesting to see that. Of course, we also have cruise ships coming into Lerwick Harbor constantly. It's rare that there isn't a day that you don't have a cruise ship there unloading hundreds and hundreds of people out in the town of Lerwick to go spend their money. But yeah, really, just a lovely place here in Shetland. Only about 30,000 people on all of the islands combined. But to give you an idea of just how alone we are out here, there are 500 residents on Shetland, and that includes the employees of RFA. 500 people on this entire island. And it's not like it's small. It takes about 20 minutes, I would say, to drive from one side of it to the other. So yeah, it's quite amazing to think just how few people there are here, how small the population is, and yet what they are accomplishing. Once again, I'm also going to go ahead and give you guys a quick look around. We have over here, obviously, that's the North Sea. And over here, we have those are concrete bunker facilities that once belonged to the RAF during the time when this place was a nerve center of military operations. For first of all, for the RAF during the war, during the Second World War, and then NATO subsequently. However, that base, that Air Force base, Royal Air Force Base, has now been closed, but it has now been repurposed as the office and residential facilities for the spaceport. How about that? So, as I've mentioned a number of times, I live actually in a non-commissioned officer's quarters at this facility. I have lived there for almost a month now. It's sort of a hostel environment. Hostel is in, youth hostel. You just have, your room and a desk and a sink and a bed and closet space. And then all the bathroom facilities are shared and kitchen facilities are shared. They have a canteen where they give you 3 meals a day if you want them. They serve breakfast at the canteen in the morning, typical Scottish fare, fried eggs and bacon, and sometimes black pudding, stuff like that. And then they do a packed lunch for lunch, and then finally dinner, and that is usually more meats. This Scotland is a big meats and potatoes kind of place. At least this part of Scotland is. Some salad, peas, corn, that sort of thing. The kind of staples that we would expect and any Midwesterner in the United States would expect. I would say that that's kind of the same thing. I, however, don't always eat that, so I go buy my own food at Tesco. For those of you who are British, you know what a Tesco is. And yes, it is Scotland. This is actually Shetland, the Shetland Isles, as they are called, or the Shetlands, as they are sometimes called in America. It's simply called Shetland here. Yes, indeed, bacon and black pudding, food of champions. I do not disagree. I do not disagree at all. They do have fish. They definitely have fish here with some regularity, but it's not as regular as I would have expected. So, like I said, get my own food at Tesco, and that is an endeavor. Every time the nearest Tesco is in Lerwick, which is 2.5 hours away. So you're looking at a 5-hour round trip every time you want to go grocery shopping. Not to say that they don't have little grocery stores here on Unst, because they do, but there are many, many things that those grocery stores do not have. And so if you want things like raspberries, blueberries, or just different kinds of fruit, or any, salad dressing, if you're Americans, we decadently have over 100 different kinds of salad dressing, that sort of thing. Then you're going to have to go down to Tesco, down to Lerwick. And I do that at least once a week, sometimes a bit more frequently than that. Haggis, neats and tatty, yes, indeed. Captain Quinn, I've had that a number of times, actually. Is the Amazon upcharge £100 compared to buying direct right now at the EcoFlow summer sale? You get a new unit under £400. Thanks, ASN. Yeah, it's getting things online. It just, you know me, I have a hard time buying things online. You can see now the sun is illuminating the rocket a little bit. And we should have had clearance here in less than 20 minutes. They should have the pad cleared. I'm not sure if they have a pad clear alarm. They might. I'm not sure exactly how they do that. Tesco will deliver. There are delivery services, but you got to pay a lot of money, and it doesn't happen overnight. So it's actually a bit better yes, once again, it's a huge contribution came in from a goalie today. Yeah, biggest super chat I've ever seen, Tim. It's unbelievable. We've had a lot of generosity today, and deeply appreciative. I mean, I guess all I did is casually mention how much my power bank cost me, and then all of a sudden he goes and gives me all the money for it. My head is spinning. So once again, I really, really appreciate it. Okay, so in any event, we continue to count down to the prop load for the RFA ONE rocket. Once again, for those of you just joining us, I have had a walkabout tour of everything except the launch pad. I've got some good photographs of the pad, but RFA is they jealously guard their technology. So they haven't let me near the launch pad. However, I did get to tour everything else. So, for example, that building that you see right there, which is the hangar facility, clean room, etc. I did tour that. I also toured all of the other launch pads, and I'm just panning around to show you how far this peninsula goes. And they're going to have they're building 2 more launch pads right now to accommodate the additional customers. By the way, I have some interesting news for you. And once again, I'm not. This isn't an attempt for me to get involved involved in anything political. I'm just stating facts. Elon, as we all know, made a decision to move the headquarters from California, the SpaceX headquarters from California to Texas, because of a new transsexual law that was passed in California that he disagreed, and many other people disagree with it, to be fair. In any event, because of that, there's a company called Latitude, who is a customer of Saxavord. They're a French rocket company. They just tested their engines up here a few months ago. And Latitude is now has an open invitation to hire any SpaceX employees who don't want to go to Texas and would prefer to go to Europe. And so they are aggressively trying to recruit any SpaceX employees who would like to live over here instead of in Texas, which I have to say is a pretty good move on their part. I don't. The politics, I give a damn about that. It's a company taking advantage of an opportunity, and I think that that's very clever. So we'll see. We'll see how much talent they can pick up, because I know that there are definitely going to be some employees who are not going to want to move or not going to want to go to Texas anyway. I would move to Texas, and that's not because I dislike Texas. I like Texas. I like Texans everywhere. People are great there. It's because it's so damn hot and it's so damn humid in so many places, especially like Boca Chica. Boca Chica is insanely hot and humid. So that being the case, with that kind of heat and humidity, that just ain't my kind of place. I need cold weather. So yeah, I wouldn't want to move to Boca Chica either. And so I might take an offer like that. And also, Latitude is paying all the moving expenses, everything. So yeah, they're being pretty aggressive in trying to grab those SpaceX employees. We'll see how successful they are. So once again, to reiterate what we are currently looking at, we have the RFA ONE launch pad in front of us right now. And we also, pardon me, here we go. And in preparation for the preparation for a tanking test or a wet dress rehearsal for a static fire, which will be taking place on Sunday, a 5-engine static fire. And then the current plan suggests that we are going to have a 9-engine static fire about 3 or 4 days after that. And then, assuming everything goes well with all of these tests, and then once the static fire is complete, then they will be ready to stack and launch. And we can expect a launch in September. It could probably happen sooner. From what I've heard from RFA, they will have this rocket stacked and ready to launch by the end of August. But there are CAA restrictions. Here's the thing about California, Michael. I would live in a dry area of California. Dry heat doesn't bother me. I would actually, LA I could deal with, believe it or not. It's humidity is what bothers me more than anything. And California is not. There certainly are humid areas. Yeah, let me go ahead and tilt up a bit. There you go, guys. Sorry. After I continue to try to secure this tripod just a bit better. So yeah, dry heat doesn't bother me terribly much. So yeah, it can change your climate in San Diego. Change your climate by changing elevation. It's true. There can be a lot of variation in temperatures, climate, weather. Everything. Okay, we have something going on at the base of the pad. In my opinion, this looks like a pad clear alarm. That would be my guess, but it might be something else. We'll see. But yeah, we have activity. So let's have a look and see. That light seems mobile though. So no, I would say that may be a truck of some kind because it seems to be mobile. But I do know that we have pad clear coming up real soon, just in the next few minutes, if it hasn't happened already. Bear with me for just a moment. I'm trying to settle this camera better for you guys. I will indeed, yes. Just got a question from Master Surveyor. Absolutely, I will be back here for the launch. 100%. So, and for those of you who have just joined us, we have a launch pad on the left, is obviously, and then on the right, we have the hangar facility. And you see that multicolored building. It is capable of handling 2 rockets simultaneously and maintaining privacy and security for 2 different customers. So you could have high impulse in one hangar and RFA in the other. So, and that is a unique capability. There really aren't too many facilities that have that capability right at the launch facility like this. In addition, there will be 2 clean rooms. Right now, there's just one for RFA, and they are integrating. The payloads have already arrived, by the way. There are a number of CubeSats, mostly from German universities. Their experiments that they have that they're putting on this rocket for free because the German Space Agency is paying for a ride on this rocket simply because there's such a risk involved in this first launch. The odds, I would give this rocket maybe a 5% chance of actually reaching orbit, given how first launches always go. But we'll see. So yeah, very very excited about all that. So once again, these guys decided to take their chance, put their technology and their CubeSats on this rocket, getting a free ride from the German Space Agency. So yeah, let's see. Sleep or more coffee? It's hard to say. Hard to say. You know what? Yeah, or Panama City. I'm trying to figure out which Panama City you're talking about. But Lord Bank have all the charge of the world to take pictures, yes, and videos. That is very true. And we actually have a gentleman out here with a really good set of kit. He's a documentarian, and he's covering this as well. And he's told me he's going to give me access to some of his footage, so I'll be able to give you guys some really good stuff in the aftermath of this test. Panama City, Florida. Yes, I've been there. I like it there. I'm very fond of Panama City, Florida. To visit, not to live. But my brother and sister-in-law, ex-brother and sister-in-law, they live in Columbus, Georgia, not too far away from Panama City. Yes, we definitely have some activity at the pad. We are almost at the moment of pad clear, at least according to the information that I've been getting thus far. Again, we know how this works, right, guys? We know from watching so many SpaceX tests. You never know how long these things are going to take and what the delays are going to be, that sort of thing. Nick, you heard anything? So in any event, right now, I'm not sure if I'm on camera or anything right now, but I may be. So, because right now, Nick, as part of his documentary, is actually filming me broadcasting. So, but Nick's doing a very in-depth documentary. By the way, he is a Emmy Award nominated documentarian, and he is doing a very professional film. So yeah, we will see. So yes, definitely need a better camera with a super zoom at some point. I got a cell phone camera with what I was told is the best camera that any cell phone in the world. But nevertheless, through this app that I'm using to broadcast, I just have a rough time getting a really good zoom on that, unfortunately. But I'll tell you, this looks way better than the vast majority of my live streams. If any of you other guys have been on any of my live streams, usually the rocket looks like a tiny dot off on the horizon. So this is definitely an improvement from where we were before. All right, so we will continue our coverage here. Once again, we have the launch pad, we have the facility, the integration facility. In the middle, you may notice is these little, what appear to be little buildings, little box-like objects. These are the tanks. This is the tank farm for the rocket. Obviously, much smaller, not nearly as ambitious as the tank farm that you have for Starship, because it's a much smaller rocket. Oh, yeah, let's take a poll on the successful second static fire, because RFA has actually had one successful 4-engine static fire. Maybe we can give some choices here to do a poll like failure, successful 5-engine, successful 5 and 9-engine, and then maybe a couple other options like successful launch and make it to orbit or something like that. You know, how many people think, oh, first static fire, 95% of the viewers think that the first static fire will be successful. A lot of confidence that yes, indeed. I think you guys are right, by the way. These guys have a very good rocket here, very good engines that have performed extremely well and have been tested and tested and tested. So I think that there's a lot of reason to be confident, and also keep in mind that they have tested a lot of their similar systems for their upper stage rockets as well. So yeah, I hardly keep my eyes open. More coffee, yes indeed. For those of you watching from Australia, I really appreciate you guys sticking with it. You guys are fantastic. Really appreciate it here. So as I say once again, this will be a wet dress rehearsal as the uh, as the title suggests, and we'll be loading RP1 and liquid oxygen into this booster, and as opposed to the methane that SpaceX uses. However, what is similar, what makes this rocket similar to Starship, is the fact that it uses staged combustion for its engines. The very advanced and difficult to master technology, and yet they've managed to, it appears, to master this technology, because their engine tests up to this far, including their first static fire, looked very good indeed. Um, so yeah, I'm feeling very optimistic about what these engines seem to be capable of, and of course with staged combustion, in other words, reusing the propellant and oxidizer that you use to spin the turbo pump and such, in order to burn it again, so that more of the propellant and oxidizer is burned. Therefore, greater efficiency, more power from the same amount of propellant and oxidizer. That is a difficult technology, and a lot of companies have been working on it, but they've definitely been able to do it. So we will see that UFO show in Australia. Really appreciate UFO Busters for joining us today. No chill down clouds prior to the prop load. Yes, that is true. We don't have the no. It's yeah. We're definitely going to see some differences with this load between RP one and locks as opposed to methyl locks. You will definitely see a difference in this process. Pad pad clear should be taking place right about now. So the actual wet dress rehearsal should start shortly after that, but we still currently, from what I can see, have activity at the pad. We still have vehicles moving around. So clearly we don't have a evacuated pad yet. So we'll see how this develops as time goes on. In other space news, for those of you who've been watching my channel, you've probably noticed that I went on a pretty lengthy rant against Starliner again last night, and that's because it's still broken. Although, interestingly enough, they've been able. Wow, we have 83% of our viewers saying that RFA is going to have a nominal launch. That's a lot of confidence in these guys. That's great. I'm glad I've been able to communicate that kind of confidence. We've got some good people here, I'll tell you. I've been eating with these people, drinking with these people. There's a bar on property that you can go to. I've been interacting with them a lot. And obviously they don't tell me anything they're not supposed to tell me, but I have said a great deal of a great deal of confidence, a great deal of just just a lot of talent and a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of people who really believe that this first launch is going to make it. I'll tell you, I admire that. I don't happen to agree. I think that odds are on the first launch, we're going to have an anomaly somewhere. It'd be great if they could get past the Carmen line or something like that. But if they manage to do something even more than that would be miraculous. Quite miraculous. Um, so, in any event, so yeah, Starliner again. They have left the NASA astronauts still stranded. Just horrible what's happening up there. These folks are trapped, and they don't seem to mind terribly much, like most astronauts. They're happy to, and as you can see, this is a public beach. Folks come by sometimes, and hello, and but Starliner still they've been able to recreate the problems that apparently exist in the thrusters. They did a lot of testing on the thrusters at White Sands to see if they could create the same degradation in the systems, and they did. But of course, that begs the question: why the hell did they not test those engines to that extent the first time, so that they could see that degradation? They've had 2 years since all of the thruster malfunctions that they had during their last flight. Why could they have not known about that now? So, and then to make matters worse, or to make things even more stressful, they are going to do a static fire, a hot fire of Starliner's engines while docked to the International Space Station. They are going to take a ship that has malfunctioning engines, and they're going to perform a hot fire while it's docked to the International Space Station. I can't comprehend that. To me, that just, I mean, sure, odds are nothing's going to happen. I mean, these malfunctions are things like helium leaks and such. So probably, we're not going to have an RUD or anything like that. But come on. If you have engines that are having problems, do you really want to fire them up while they are hooked onto the most expensive object that mankind has ever built? But that is precisely what they're going to do. All we can do is watch and pray. So, yeah, Starliner is continuing to create just endless, non-stop problems for the American space program. And Boeing continues to be a curse to just about anything they touch. Just very, very bad. So, anyway, we'll see what happens with all of that. We just hope that things go well. In the meantime, yeah, things are going well with your RFA. And by the way, for things coming up, things that you can expect to see on my channel, I did a tour, first of all, of the launch facility. So I'll be showing you that. I also conducted an interview with their environmental liaisons, the folks who work with the environmental organizations that protect the seals, the birds, the otters, all of that here on Shetland. And one thing that is absolutely remarkable is that there's nobody protesting, there's nobody suing, none of that. Instead, the relationship is 100% friendly. And that, I think, is absolutely astonishing. The fact that we have a spaceport that has managed to establish this positive relationship with the local um, with the local environmental organizations, historical preservation groups, that sort of thing. Super impressive indeed that they've been able to pull this off. And I'll tell you, most of what they tell me, most of what Jason, by the way, the young fellow who's largely responsible for a lot of this, he and his boss Elizabeth, what they told me is that open communication is the key. Constantly keeping the environmental protect these various organizations informed as to what they're doing and what they can expect. And as long as the communication is honest and often, it amazingly enough, it seems to be friendly. And yeah, that's really the puffins. Yes, there are lots of puffins here. However, there are not puffins in this particular bay. The puffins are not interested in this region of Shetland. They build their nests, roost, etc. Whatever puffins do, I don't know what the heck they do. But they're located on the other side of Unst. I'm hoping I can get an opportunity to see them. Sorry about the shaky image. I am sitting rather on a park bench. I have a Starlink transmitter on my left and a power bank on my right, and I've been sitting here for quite some time, and it takes a toll after a while. But in any event, we are looking forward to what we're doing right now. So yes, we could have. Oh, that's a very good point that Rockin' Robin is making. The RCS engines on Starliner could stick on for the duration of the available fuel supply. Oh yeah, not upset ISS. The main thing that could be a problem is if we have an RUD. If the thruster's experienced an RUD and that were to cause some sort of chain reaction, that could be bad. But it's very true. The RCS thrusters on Starliner are very weak. They're comparatively speaking, and they're not going to use those engines for reboost. By the way, instead the primary engines on the service module is what Starliner will be using for reboost. Although guess what? They're not going to be using that for reboost. They're not going to be using that thing for a damn thing. They would be immensely irresponsible to let Starliner carry any more astronauts into orbit ever. ever again. They just need to write off that spacecraft forever. Honestly, I think that's what Boeing wants. Anyway, pad evacuation has been, now we know it's happening. We have another delay, this time a delay to pad evacuation. So that's what's causing our delay here. So that being the case, I'm going to take a little stroll. I am going to keep the camera pointed towards the booster, and I'm going to take a little stroll around the beach and stretch my legs a bit. And I will be back in about 10. To set this up where you guys hopefully should be able to see the rocket. You can help me out with this to see if I go ahead and just you know these things better. Trying to get it to where we'll be able to. Oh wait, there's the part. Okay, hold on. Zoom in. No, that zoom out. Damn it. I knew there was going to be a problem if I tried to do this. Go ahead. Sorry. Got to speak up. Thanks. Problem is, there's too much wind. There we go. Keep an eye on it. Just going to take it. Sorry, guys. I am back. Thanks very much for your patience. Continuing to try to get a little bit zoomed here. The problem is wind is so powerful that it's actually stimulating this, that it touches the screen. I'm going to try to see if I can shield it a little bit. There we go. Maybe that'll be a little bit better. Nope. Try again. That might be a little better. Yeah, that's better. So, I am back. Thanks very much again. Being patient. We are here. Thank you. We got some notifications from my team here telling me that they're going to be away for a bit. So once again, I just wanted to catch everybody up, just in case anybody's joining us. We are here for a tanking test, wet dress rehearsal for an RFA static fire. This is all in preparation for a launch that is coming up very, very soon. Yeah. So it's and what we can expect is the wet dress rehearsal tonight, followed by a 5-engine static fire. They already did a 4, so now we're going to have a 5-engine static fire, and then after that, we will have a 9-engine static fire a few days after that. The 5-engine will take place on Sunday, is the current thought as to how that's going to go. And then the 9-engine static fire will take place a few days after that. And then after that, they'll stack and be ready to launch. We are just a few weeks away from this rocket being 100% ready to lift off. The companies right now, I just got a question from my team. The companies that are expressing interest in Saxavord, currently we have, well, obviously we have RFA that's doing it. We have High Impulse, also a German company that has already done engine testing here, and they are going to do a launch sometime next year, probably. They may do a suborbital launch before the end of the year. And then in addition to that, we have a company called Latitude, and it's a French company. And interestingly enough, they've been in the news a fair amount right now because they are trying to grab SpaceX talent. There are apparently a fair number of California SpaceX employees who do not want to move to Texas, who don't agree with what Elon's doing, and Latitude is looking to grab that talent. They're being very aggressive about it, and offering to pay their moving expenses to France, etc. So very interesting move on their part. But Latitude is also a customer of Saxavord. In addition to that, the 2 American companies who are customers of Saxavord are also companies who are experiencing extreme problems right now which is why they're not out here. ABL, which just attempted their second launch, and that went just about as badly as the first. Maybe a little better, because the first ABL launch essentially detonated an air burst right over the launch pad. It was a pretty cataclysmic failure. And then the second launch did not go a whole lot better. So ABL is struggling. The other company that is a customer of Saxavord, American company, is Astra. However, as we all know, Astra has really been struggling too. Company who also tried to make it to orbit many times and failed many times. I think they made it once. I think they actually did manage to complete one successful mission. But nevertheless, yeah, kind of grim how that worked. Yeah, as far as the Alaska things are concerned, yeah, that's a lot of these companies. They do launch from Alaska to start off with. The objective is to establish some success in Alaska first, and then attempt to launch here from Saxavord. But yeah, like I say, the American companies have not. There hasn't been a whole lot of success here, and honestly, my suspicion is what seems to be happening right now is Saxavord is focusing their sales efforts on European launch providers, not on American launch providers. There are many drawbacks to getting an American. I mean, American launch providers definitely need money. There's no question as far as that's concerned. But one of the drawbacks is ITAR restrictions are so harsh that putting anything out here can make operating the spaceport a very challenging thing to do, as opposed to European restrictions, which are not as draconian. So it just makes it a lot easier for them to do what they have to do. So I think they're looking more for European launch providers. Also, they have interest from other countries as well. South Korea, Turkey. These are all rumors. No established contracts that have been announced anyway. But again, I really like Saxavord's business model. The idea to go ahead and do business with everybody. Anybody who wants to come out here and launch their rocket from here can, and that is rare, very rare. Obviously, Rocket Lab's facilities are for Rocket Lab. SpaceX's facilities are for SpaceX. So you don't run into a lot of spaceports that are more than one launch provider. Also, the Orbex facilities. Also forgot to mention Skyrora, who, by the way, they just applied for a CAA launch license. They also are a Saxavord customer, and it's very possible that they're going to have something launching from Saxavord either towards the end of this year or into next. Yeah, Ulrich Bates, thank you so much for your support. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I recall seeing that super chat, so I really, really appreciate all the incredible support that I've been getting. Once again, feel free to ask any questions that you like. And as I say, we still, at this point, we should have had a launch pad clearance, but we have not. That has been delayed again. We should have launch pad clearance in about 29 minutes, according to the last update that I received. By the way, even though the sun doesn't go down here at this time of year, it's getting chilly out here, let me tell you. Shetland is getting very chilly. Most memorable moment, oh my God, in terms of, we'll restrict that to space flight, because the most remarkable thing, period, in my life would definitely be the birth of both of my children. that was just special. But if we're talking about space flight, I would say the maiden launch of Challenger. I got to see that up close and personal in 1981. My uncle was a career NASA employee at the Cape for decades after he got out of the Navy, and he took me to see quite a number of launches. So as far as spaceflight is concerned, I would say the launch of the Challenger was probably the most wonderful, just of course because of the moment, but also just because my uncle was there. You know what I mean? Um, that was very special. So continue to show you around here. We got some sunlight coming. Thank God, as you can see. Go ahead and give you a little look. As you can see, all the little white things up on the hill, they're all sheep. There are far more sheep in Shetland than there are people. Far more. Um, the wool industry and then lamb, mutton, etc. That continues to remain a big and important part of this company's, or rather this country's, not country, but rather location's economy. So yeah, you get to see lots and lots and lots of sheep. Olympics time on the ISS, so is that right? That's kind of cool. I'd like to check that out. By the way, go ahead and in case anybody in France is watching, we're thinking of you folks. We hope that whatever sabotage was carried out did not involve any casualties, but nevertheless, any terrorist attacks that disrupts transportation has a big impact on a lot of people. So, we definitely all thinking of you guys, and we hope you guys are all right. Okay. Once again, we have no idea what the motivation was, why this attack happened. It's all just kind of speculation right now, unfortunately. So, again, it's been a little while since I've talked about the RFA ONE rocket in terms of its capabilities. For those of you watching who have just joined us or didn't hear that part, RFA ONE is definitely a smaller rocket, a rocket that would launch smaller types of payloads, but its capabilities are substantially bigger than most rockets of its class. For example, you have it has quadruple the capability of the Rocket Lab Electron payload launch. It can launch about 1.3 metric tons to low Earth orbit, about 1 metric ton to Sun synchronous orbit, and Sun synchronous orbits are increasingly becoming more and more popular because Sun synchronous orbits allow satellites to have the sun hit their solar panels on a continuous basis. It's a pretty useful orbit, but it's a polar orbit. So that's why they launch from here. But most importantly, RFA ONE is capable of delivering 150 kilograms worth of payload to the moon, to lunar orbit. And that is a very big deal indeed. That makes RFA a company that is capable of delivering some very useful satellites for the Artemis program all the way out to lunar orbit. And RFA could definitely become a big part of ESA's ambition to build a lunar communication network. All right. Anything interesting happened the last 30 minutes? Not really. There's been an extension of the pad clearance time. Again, the pad clearance deadline has been moved up. It is now 24 minutes away from pad clear, theoretically. By the way, we have down here at the beach, there are Saxavord Security here, who are keeping an eye on what's happening to make sure that nobody tries to monkey around with this test. Because as you can see, somebody with a boat or somebody with an ambitious hiking ability could perhaps wander over there and start causing some trouble. So they definitely have their security on site and ready in case any issues should come up. Just a little while ago, there were a number of their employees that were here, RFAs, that is. RFAs, people, some aeronautical engineering specialists, another one that was just more focused on launch. So that was kind of nice. I had a little chat with them. But I'm definitely excited about all the amazing things that has been happening, and also the talent that I'm seeing here. There is some extraordinary talent from all over the world. I mean, of course, we commonly call RFA a German company, but it's done. German employees only make up about 50% of the staff. The other 50% are from everywhere. Yeah, Saxavord Securities did stop the Just Stop Oil people. Yeah, definitely need to make sure that those people don't go anywhere near the rocket, even though, actually, RP ONE is arguably a petrochemical. So, yeah, you got to make sure that those guys don't come anywhere near this rocket. They are a problem. Yes, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I also want to thank the folks who have made incredible contributions today on Super Chats. You can also contribute by being a Patreon supporter or on PayPal. All that's in the description. But yeah, it's the support that's come in today is truly amazing. As you can see, the landscape is lighting up a bit. We have some sunlight streaming through the clouds. This is such a painfully beautiful place. Just a really, really lovely thing to see. And as you can see also, this is a public beach. We got people walking down the beach on a regular basis here. It's a fairly popular place to go. We actually have some campers here. A fellow brought his son out, near as I can tell, and they didn't even know the rocket was here. They just brought out their tents, and here they are. Very interesting. All right, so let's see, what do we got now? Okay, and by the way, feel free to Korolev sitting on a deck chair under the rocket. Oh, that's beautiful. I love how the sun is lighting up the landscape right now. It's looking very, very pretty indeed. So once again, on the left, we have the launch pad or launch table, as it is called. Many of the components, a lot of the steel, etc., for this launch pad comes from the oil industry. That's why it looks like an oil platform. Also, in between the building and the launch pad, there in the center, you'll see these small little buildings, boxes, tanks, whatever you want to call them. That is the tank farm for RFA ONE. Much smaller, of course, than the tank farm for Starship, using RP ONE and liquid oxygen instead of methane. And then on the right, you have a hangar building, and that building will accommodate two customers or two rockets simultaneously for integration purposes. So you could have two customers in there getting their rockets ready for launch at the same time, which is pretty amazing. And in addition to that, they also will have two clean rooms. Right now, they only have one. And by the way, I took a tour of all of this, and that will be coming out very soon, along with another video that I did where I interviewed the environmental folks out here. A young man named Jason from South Africa, and also a lady named Elizabeth, who's actually lived here for a very long time. Many generations of her family actually have lived here all the way back to when the Vikings lived on this island. So they interviewed them, and in addition to that, I also did a walk down what they call the Planetary Trail. They've really been trying to improve the educational features of the spaceport, and it's quite amazing actually. So you go on that, and it's set up to scale. You walk down that trail, and it's set up to scale for the orbital distances between, obviously all the planets and the sun. So you can walk that trail, and I filmed that, and actually I'm going to be releasing that content as well. And of course, what makes that super special is the fact that you get an opportunity to really see how enormous the distances are between the inner worlds, the inner rocky worlds, and the Jovian worlds. The distance is just mind-boggling. And so you really get an opportunity to experience that while you're walking. I figured I was walking at about warp 4, maybe warp 5, uh, from Star Trek terms, in terms of how fast I was moving in between those planets. And that was just me walking. So yeah, it is really amazing to see how enormous those distances are between the planets. So this is just a really cool place to come. It's just it's wonderful to visit this place. Oh, another feature I'll show you up on that hill. You will see that building up there, that ruin. That's something that's really common all over Shetland. These ruins, people have been living here for thousands of years, and you will see the remnants of their. Most people live in modern houses, or relatively modern houses anyway, these days in Shetland. But you get to see there are so many buildings and walls and just mounds that show where walls used to be, that sort of thing, that really show how vibrant and how active the culture was here. And also a Bronze Age site, Bronze Age encampment was discovered in, just right by the RFA launch pad, not very far away. And they have allowed archaeologists to come out there and excavate it while they're doing everything else. And if there had not been a spaceport being built there, if they had not been digging up that area in order to build a spaceport, they never would have found that Bronze Age site. 3,500 years old, and it just amazes me. It makes me wonder what motivated people 3,500 years ago to make that journey. It's just mind-boggling, really. So to come all the way up here, just quite. Yeah, there's a planetary hike in North England too. Is there? That's great. That's great. It's really a neat feature to have. Okay, so we are continuing to wait for this process to get started. We are technically and theoretically about 14 minutes away from pad clearance. Once the pad is clear, then we'll be getting up to the point to where we'll be. Thank you, producer. Once the pad is clear, obviously, then there'll be a little while before we get prop load, but not too long now. We fortunately we don't. Finally, this wait is getting a little closer to an end. And the entire wet dress rehearsal is expected to take about 3 hours from beginning to end. Although there'll be things going on during the entire time. We'll be seeing a lot of, obviously, a lot of vapor coming off of the rockets, especially the LOX, that sort of thing. So we're going to. It should be an interesting show, and I am a hell of a lot closer than I usually am to rockets during these types of things. So it's really neat to watch this. Very cool. And feel free, by the way, to ask any questions you like. I have definitely want to see that. See the proper end of Hadrian's Wall. How about that? Really? Okay. Interesting information that we got coming across the chat today. Wood, sun again. Oh man, look at that. Oh God, that's gorgeous. Once again, some of you may be noticing these tiny little splashes occasionally popping up in the water. One just happened there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but those are, I have no idea what they are. Some kind of bird that's going through fishing, doing these incredible dives down onto the water. Really neat. So that sometimes they go for it, sometimes they dive, and sometimes they stop. Sometimes they loop around and kind of skim the waves for a second and go up to give it another shot. Probably because they lost their opportunity, I guess. Wet dress rehearsal so far, Mike. It's going good, but not much has happened. It's been delayed a number of times. The pad clear is supposed to take place in about 11 minutes. Like I said, we expected this to happen a lot earlier. We expected to have pad clear like almost 3 hours ago. So the obviously, as is the case with space tests all the time, is we just have we just have a delay. That's space. So we should have that coming up really soon. Yes, there are seals, otters, etc. However, it's important to note that Saxavord has a team that keeps an eye on all of those animals. The team is led by a couple of people, Jason and Elizabeth. Jason's from South Africa. Elizabeth is a long time, well, a Shetland native and many generations here. So anyway, the community they really stay on top of this stuff. They stay on top of the situation with the birds and with the otters, and also Jason takes water samples continuously. I photographed them. I can't believe how many water sample bottles he has on his wall, and all of that is to check for any contamination, anything that the wastewater might be causing problems with. You don't want that stuff going into the sea. It's important to avoid that. And I'll tell you, this company, this spaceport's positive relationship with environmental, sorry to shake the camera there, guys, with environmental organizations and with historical preservation people, that sort of thing. I mean, it is just mind-boggling how good of a relationship they have, how they've managed to business. So anyway, continuing and by the way, you guys again can continue to ask whatever questions you want to about RFA, about Saxavord, about the current state of European spaceflight. Bear with me, I'm going to try to get a drink. Sitting on this park bench, trying not to let this equipment go smashing into the ground. Just 1 second. Apologies, everyone. Back. Go ahead, please. Thank you. By the way, guys, make sure to express appreciation for our awesome producer, ASN, another space nut, who is always with us on these live streams. His level of professionalism and support is what makes these live streams happen. If you're relying on my technical capabilities, you'd be seeing a blank screen right now, or be looking at the ground or something like that. So really appreciate it. Saxavord considered about coastal erosion being to strong waves crashing on the cliffs. Well, these cliffs have been here for quite some time. If we're talking about erosion being an issue to the spaceport, this peninsula here, you might see at the end of the peninsula there are little buildings out there as well. And that peninsula, those buildings belong to the RAF. There's been there's been military facilities and other facilities here for quite some time, and this has just been a very good place to establish them. So, but yeah, I mean, eventually, coastal erosion takes a toll on any cliffs, and it continues to get more, and that these things get more and more violent. Depending on what time of year it is. There's one very, very sad story, actually, um, about something that happened up here. There is a couple who decided that they wanted to spend New Year's Eve um, on this beach. They wanted to spend New Year's Eve on a beach, on the most northerly beach in the United Kingdom. The locals told them, "Do not do that. It's the winds were unbelievable." But they just did it because they'd camped a lot in the open or whatever before, but they didn't account for the hurricane force winds that struck that night that destroyed their tent. And ultimately there was no escape for them. Once their shelter was destroyed, there was no way they could get back back to civilization, and they died of exposure. So this can be a very, very lethal place if you're not careful. Yeah, just a wet. Once again, to be clear, this is a wet dress rehearsal. They're going to tank up the booster, and they're going to go through all the processes that you would expect that leads up to a static fire. But they're not going to fire the engines. But so we're going to see a lot of vapor billowing around the rocket, that sort of thing, but not much of anything else. I don't know. I'm not sure. Somebody just tried to WhatsApp me, but unfortunately, I cannot always see the WhatsApp messages when they pop up. And if I go to check it, I lose image. So I'm not going to do that. So somebody's watching and is trying to WhatsApp me. Feel free to send your message again. So from what my understanding is, we should have pad clear in the next 4 minutes. And then once the pad is clear, then everything else obviously can get going. Now, just to be clear, this is not this is not a risk-free test. I think all of us, well, a lot of us anyway, have seen the failed tanking experiments with Starship and the violent explosions that resulted from those. So, it's not like this booster is not in jeopardy, because it very well could be. My favorite space movie, oh God, that's a tough one. There are so many. I guess it's got to be The Martian. How can you top that? I mean, that's just an absolutely fantastic film. I'm gonna make another attempt to try to. Okay, there's a wide view now. I'm gonna try to. Tell you, because the wind is hitting this screen, it's hard for me to. There we go. I know I can do better. Let's try again. Oh, this can zoom more. Be nice if it gave me some manual control. Just that might be a little better. Alrighty. So yeah, The Martian, definitely one of my favorites. In terms of disaster space movies, Deep Impact is my favorite. I never get sick of watching Deep Impact. Such an incredibly intense movie, and a lot of scientific accuracy. Certainly not perfect, but a lot of scientific accuracy. It's pretty cool. But definitely The Martian is one of the best. Once again, happy to answer any questions that you folks might have. We are continuing to watch this wet dress rehearsal. The tanking process hopefully should get started here quite soon. Go ahead. Sun, we get sunset around midnight, although it kind of remains twilight. It never really gets fully dark. Yes, this is indeed the land of the midnight sun. No question about that. Flash Gordon. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you guys can feel free to post your favorite. Continuing to. How cold am I getting? It is getting colder. Definitely getting. I'm sorry. I keep wanting to monkey with this Zoom. Try again. That's better. That's a better Zoom. So it's kind of frustrating. Sorry guys, I can't see your chats currently because something decided to come popping up on my laptop. Sorry for all the shakiness there. I was trying to fix that. Man, it is gorgeous here, isn't it? What a amazingly gorgeous. So yeah, we should definitely be seeing some tanking here fairly soon. Fairly soon. Who knows? I mean, they're gonna start this process when they're ready to start this process. So we will see how this goes. Once again, happy to answer any questions that may come up. Once again, for those of you just joining us, this wet dress rehearsal is in preparation for a 5-inch static fire on Sunday. And that is the current plan. That could, of course, change. And that will be followed a few days later, if everything goes well, by, oh, Forbidden Planet. Yes, I saw that come up. Oh, my God. That's definitely one of my top 5. If you're talking about science fiction movies that were made prior to Star Wars, but that is definitely the best. Forbidden Planet was absolutely fantastic. It's such an amazingly good and original story. Any movement from Blue Origin? Well, what do you expect? I mean, I think they're still saying what they've been saying, that they're going to launch in September. They're going to launch New Glenn in September, so they say. I mean, we'll see. They definitely lack any sort of decent reputation when it comes to doing things promptly. But we'll see. I mean, if they can pull that off, if they can actually launch, if they can launch New Glenn in September and deploy its cargo successfully, if they can actually pull that off on the first try, that means that they will have a um, fully operational commercial rocket. And it could be that they'll have a fully operational commercial rocket before Starship, because Starship, has certainly been to space a lot, but it's not quite ready to start deploying payloads for customers. So if New Glenn does indeed deploy a NASA payload, as they are scheduled to do, then yeah, that could be a big accomplishment. Do I think that they're going to do that? Who will take over the vehicle assembly building after Artemis missions? That's a very good question. I mean, I still think we got a ways to go on that. I think we got a decade at least before SLS is completely phased out, and it could be around even longer than that. It really depends on how practical Starship proves to be. Um, it could take a while. Okay, I just got a testing update, but unfortunately, I didn't see it, and I'm not going to be able to pull it up without knocking out you guys' video, which is not something I'm going to do. So I guess if somebody wants to give me a testing update, they'll tell me. They'll come out here and tell me. So yes, Blue Origin is still quite slow in their developments, and again, the biggest negative development that I can think of with Blue Origin is the fact that they've been given this Artemis HLS role. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. There's no way that that Blue Origin is going to be ready to have a functional HLS system before in less than 10 years. I mean, I guess it's been a year since the contract was awarded, so maybe 9 years, but it's still absolutely just pathetic. Um, I really don't see how they're going to have any sort of practical HLS system before that. And so then what NASA has done is they have made Artemis 100% dependent on Starship, which is maybe not a bad thing, but still, I mean, it could be a problem if Starship runs into issues, and they have no viable replacement. No alternative. And that just sucks. So, and yeah, I mean, like I say, if Blue Origin could change my opinions of them a lot, if they actually get New Glenn off the ground and deploy a payload with it, if they can actually pull that off, my position on them will change a bit, especially if they're able to retrieve the booster. If they can land the booster, that would be an incredible accomplishment. So. Okie doke. Still flies later this year. Yeah, I agree, Beth Jesus. I agree that that we should have a flight of any new rocket is good. Usually that's a good thing to have the flight of a new rocket. So I'm hoping that's something that we get. We shall see. Meantime, we wait on this rocket. Yeah, it is a beautiful launch site on a nice day. It's a freaking miserable launch site on a rainy day and a cold day, and that's something I am likely to experience quite a number of times because I'm probably going to come up here for a lot of launches. So yeah, this could be very challenging indeed to try to film under those conditions. Even now in July, you know what I mean? We just have we have a very cold chill in the air. It's very disconcerting to be this cold in July, but the wind is icy right now. It really is. So the RFA one, as I said, it has another feature, which is a sort of kick stage. And that kick stage is capable of, and by the way, they have it here for this particular launch. That kick stage is capable of an additional about 3.5 kilometers per second worth of delta V. What does that mean? Well, it means that it can get from low Earth orbit up into much higher orbit, into sun-synchronous orbit at least, and even further than that. In addition to that, if you didn't want to do that, when you deploy the payload, you can then use that kick stage as a spacecraft. It's very similar to the Rocket Lab Photon, and the intention is to deorbit, to use it for deorbiting space junk, uh, or also repairing satellites, refueling satellites, and therefore helping with their long-term endurance. So yeah, a lot of additional capabilities. On top of that, RFA is also building a spacecraft called the Argo. The Argo is far too big to launch on RFA ONE. The Argo is a resupply ship, a reusable resupply ship for the ISS and later for other commercial space stations. So they've been working on the Argo for a while now, and very exciting what that looks like. And also, given its size, they want it to be launch provider agnostic, so it can launch on an Ariane 6 or it can launch on a Falcon 9 or whatever. But what they also want is what they've made clear is that they're going to design a bigger rocket because the spaceflight industry is going big again. Spaceflight industry is definitely making a hard shift towards the bigger rockets, and you can see that with Rocket Lab, for example. Oh yeah, the jet stream, right? It has been cold in the UK in general this year. It's been a ridiculously cold summer in the UK in general. So at this point, the pad should be clear. I see no sign of any activity, any sign of people. Um, you know, but I don't know what that means in terms of tanking getting started. But I do anticipate that this is probably going to get going here really soon. We are now 12 minutes past the point where theoretically tanking was supposed to be starting. Once again, I've received a couple of updates on Instagram, but sadly I can't see them. If I cut away to Instagram, you guys will lose your image. So I'm hoping I get another update. But it does appear, near as I can tell, that the last time I heard that we would have a wet dress rehearsal from 7 to 10, and that's 47 minutes from now. Does that mean that it's going to happen then? I don't know. But it's already running substantially later than it was supposed to. But is that space? Yes, it is. That's exactly what we expect. Defund strand liner. Totally agree. Yes, I did indeed move to the UK to enjoy the cold. Just kind of nice to have a bit of a summer. just to have it 65, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That'd be nice. It don't even have that. So at least not most days. And definitely not up here in Shetland. It's very, very chilly indeed. So I am seeing no activity, no visible activity that I can tell anyway at the pad. So maybe we're going to be starting here soon. If they stick to with the last, sorry, I keep having to shift here. If they stick to the last schedule update that we got, it would be about approximately 46 minutes from now, but we will see. So, guys, I'm going to take another short break. I'm going to step away for just a few minutes, have a quick drink, have a snack real quick. I'm going to keep this going to the best of my ability. And right back, guys. Just 1 sec. It is. Can I be heard, producer? Okay. Hey, guys. I am back. Yeah, one of the reasons why I'm kind of trapped in this location, as opposed to walking around a bit and such, is because my cell phone battery is continuing to hover around 50–60%. I've got it plugged in order to keep it charging while I use it. And so that's been, and I can't wander any further than that. Then that is, of course, what's providing your camera image. Let me go ahead. Let's back up my lap. And I can't wander too far away from the Starlink either. Once I do that, then you'll just lose your image. So the Starlink Starlink router probably has a range of about 25 meters, maybe. Um, so there's only so far you can walk away, sadly. But that's what I signed up for. That's what I do, is go and cover these sorts of events wherever possible. By the way, one other thing, I don't know if I'm going to get approved or not, but I have applied for social media accreditation for the Crew 9 mission um, uh, through SpaceX, the SpaceX Crew 9 launch up to the International Space Station. And if I get approved for that, I'll be able to get a behind the scenes tour, get to interview the astronauts, and of course I'll get a pretty up close and personal coverage of the launch. So that would be quite incredible indeed. Yeah, there are many, many benefits that I will be able to get if I get approved that. But it is competitive, and unlike the situation with the UK Space Agency and all these organizations out there, out here rather, who know and love me, NASA neither knows nor loves me. For good reasons. I can be very critical of them. But anyway, that's just the way it works. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I will get approved for that. It would be really nice to have that opportunity. Sierra Space, I've been maintaining communication with them still. Obviously, Dream Chaser, that will be an incredible moment when that lifts off. So, looking forward to that. I'm sorry, repeat. What's in October and November? Okay, great. I just got some information from my team suggesting that Dream Chaser may launch October, November, something along those lines. Whereas originally the rumor was there's going to be delayed till 2025. It would be great if that could lift off um, sometime around then. And of course, we have Vulcan Centaur, probably going to be launching in September. That is a dummy payload that they are launching just to demonstrate to the U.S. military that they have a reliable rocket, a rocket that can carry critical payloads to geosynchronous orbit. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But there's a lot of exciting things going on. There's no question about that. A lot of negative things going on too. I'll be running a video soon, by the way, about the cancellation of the Viper. The Viper rover cancellation is being that whole decision is being received with incredible anger all around the scientific community. And the reason for that is obvious. That was the most important CLIPS mission that NASA had. That was the most critical unmanned mission that NASA was planning to do for Artemis. And you need to know where the lunar ice is. It's so wasteful to have astronauts try to look for ice, prospect for ice on the ground when you can have a robot do it. So let's hope. Yeah, the reasons for cancellation seem to vary widely. The official reason is just for a sympathetically small amount of money, 85 to save $85 million in a highly competitive environment or whatever. But right now there is a petition and a signed a letter, actually, a letter that has mostly been signed by the scientific community, who are expressing their anger over the situation with Viper and insisting that Congress refuse NASA permission to cancel the mission. Instead, just give them the money that they need to finish. So we'll see. I'm sorry for the delay. My team member's trying to talk to me, but unfortunately, out here it's difficult. There's a lot of background noise that makes it difficult for these conversations to take place. So, but in any event, feel free, by the way, guys, to keep asking any questions that you have. Again, to reiterate, for those of you who are joining us late, are awaiting the commencement of a wet dress rehearsal for the RFA ONE rocket, which you see sitting at the left of your screen on a brand new launch table, as it is called. If this test is successful, on Sunday, there will be a 5-engine static fire, followed by a 9-engine static fire a few days later, probably 3-4 days later. Assuming all of those go properly, then RFA ONE will be ready for orbit. Obviously, you'll need to stack it and such, but all of the stages have been thoroughly tested, except for the booster, I guess. We still need to do those static fires. But still, we are coming right up on the cusp of a historic launch from Western Europe, the first ever full-fledged vertical commercial launch from Western Europe. Everything else that's ever flown from Western Europe, with the exception of the one Spaceport Cornwall launch with Virgin Orbit. With the exception of that one, everything else that's flown out of Europe has been sounding rockets. With the one exception of the Top Gear Reliant Robin space shuttle. By the way, that rocket, if you want to call it that, remains the most powerful rocket to ever lift off from Great Britain. To give you an idea of just how much catching up Britain has to do. Of course, Britain has launched larger rockets, but those rockets were launched in Australia, which is a good place to launch them. Termination Eclipse Viper cancellation and the U.S. components that are not related to the radiation. Well, how could that be? I don't quite understand. I mean, that thing was designed to survive radiation. Why is it not radiation resistant? Surely it was the ISS and decommissioning plans. Well, ISS is not decommissioning next year. ISS will decommission in early 2000. We got a ways to go. Oh, it is getting colder and colder. It's brought car wrapping up my neck. It is getting surprisingly chilly. All right. Yeah, that is true. That is a good point. I mean, New Shepard. I mean, it's neat that it's reusable and all that, and it's kind of cool the things that it does. But yeah, it doesn't begin to measure up to anything that major launch providers have done. And yeah, I mean, the recovering. They've done a really good job in recovering that booster. But the very good point was just made that it takes it's Falcon 9's booster is moving way faster than the New Shepard booster when it comes in to land, and they have to recover it. It's a more difficult engineering challenge without question. But still impressive that they have a reusable rocket that can launch a reusable spaceship to suborbital space. It is pretty neat. But yes, I would agree they are that Blue Origin at the moment. Well, it was New Shepard anyway, is no way equivalent. Now, like I say, New Glenn could be a total game changer. We don't know. I mean, it seems that they're finally moving forward. Don't freeze for our sake. Live to stream another day. No, it's not that cold. It's not that horrendous. It's manageable. It's manageable. So we are still waiting. It officially I mean, as near as I have heard, this test should commence in less than 30 minutes now. We should start seeing visual evidence of the commencement of the test. So we will see. But the good news is, or the good sign that I have noticed, is that we definitely seem to have a pad clearance. That definitely seems to have transpired. So. But Black Arrow was actually never launched in the UK mainland. That was an Australian launch. Yeah, the Black Arrow was definitely a decently powerful rocket, and a very good rocket. Before they gave up on it, just sad that they did. I'm sorry. Oh, are we talking about Skyrora? Oh, yes, that's right. Very good point. The producer just brought up. We toured the Skyrora facilities, and they actually recovered the Black Arrow rocket, or at least part of it, from the ocean bottom, and we actually got to touch an interstage ring on the Black Arrow. I mean, talk about a rare opportunity, because there weren't too many of those rockets launched, and they ended up at the bottom of the ocean, and we still got an opportunity to check them out. Once again, to be clear, we do not seem to have any activity at the pad, which is again exactly what we would expect at this stage. We saw a lot of scurrying around prior to that, a lot of stuff happening to suggest that that they weren't yet ready, but they do appear to have pad clearance now. So now we are waiting for the WDR to commence, which is likely to start happening in less than 30 minutes, unless there's a change in schedule that I have not noticed. Sorry for the silence there. I was just checking the battery and see what the circumstances were. It's been really neat to see the rocket gleam from time to time. By the way, their rocket is built from stainless steel. They have a stainless steel philosophy in the same way that SpaceX does. Well, I understand that. I understand your position, but at the same time, it's something that I'm going to. I mean, I haven't referred to. There are no British rockets, but it is a British spaceport. The UK Space Agency sank tens of billions of pounds into this place. Without the UK Space Agency, this place would have gone bankrupt. So even though I totally understand, I know that there's a lot of animosity, understandable animosity between the Scots and everybody living south of the Scottish English border. But that's this is definitely a UK project. I mean, obviously Shetland was started, or rather, this spaceport was started by Frank Strang, who is most unquestionably from Scotland. But at the same time, I'd have you keep in mind that his wife, who was also very, very heavily involved in making this place a success and continues. I interviewed her actually, remain engaged. She's English, not Scottish. So this is a very international endeavor, but one that is, from where I'm sitting, British. It is something that has involved a strong contribution from people both English and from Scotland. But yes, I mean clearly it's up here. Clearly the vast majority of people who work up here are from Scotland. Not all of them. There are certainly quite a few English people working up here too. Some of them in very prominent positions. Uh, so you know, uh, but on the other side, I definitely understand why the animosity exists. So I'm not going to go into all the historical reasons as to why, but I definitely get it. Being largely Irish in my heritage, and my mother was always had really strong opinions on stuff. Uh, yeah, I get it. All right. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Just talking to my producer there. He had to step away briefly. We still waiting, hopefully 22 minutes away. We are hoping, fingers crossed, that we are going to get a commencement of this static fire test. Once again, in the middle there, you can see those little bitty buildings, little bitty boxes. That is the RFA ONE tank farm, uh, obviously with RP1 and liquid oxygen. They also have the flight termination charges are kept on property over there. They have a security system setup around them that actually runs off of a wind turbine. It's kind of cool. So it's, I mean, when we're talking flight termination charges for a rocket this small, they're pretty itsy bitsy. Um, Also, we have additional. You can possibly see them at the end of the peninsula. You might be able to see these little white cylinders in the center of your screen. Those are actually additional tanks, additional propellant and oxidizer. But I did get a chance to tour this, and a video will be released soon that shows you the entire tour. Also shows you kind of a before and after perspective on the clean room, which is kind of neat. Looking forward to showing you all of that and how quickly they did it too. The gentlemen who were involved in building it, really great folks, good chess players. Had an opportunity to play a little bit of chess and hang out with them at the bar and such. Where they had really decent people and consummate professionals, people who really accomplished a lot for this spaceport in a very short amount of time. They had that clean room built in just over a week. So super cool. All right, but yes, as far as the rocket is concerned, it is most definitely German. I mean, it's that's this rocket has nothing to do with the UK as far as that's concerned. It's all built in Germany, not all by German specialists though. Keep in mind that 50% Germany doesn't have the same ITAR restrictions that we do in the United States. They can hire people from all over the world, including America, to work for them. And I've had an opportunity to meet people from everywhere, from Brazil, from Canada, and from Switzerland. And oh God, I'm having a hard time remembering just a lot of countries. It was Venezuela. Um, Venezuela's story was especially interesting, one that I hope to tell on my channel at some point. The gentleman from Venezuela who made it out here to work for RFA. So yeah, really, really amazing multinational team, but very talented. And given the fact, and also, a lot of them quite frustrated that they can't work for any American companies, American aerospace companies anyway, or spaceflight companies. I can understand the frustration. It's especially because, whoops, sorry about the image. I understand that. All right. Still looking. Sorry, every now and then my laptop goes wonky on me. Make sure that we can see the. There we go. Okay, what do we got here? Still looking. Feel free to ask questions. Still waiting to get some more news on all this. Yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, RFA. I mean, they have definitely been a company that are hungry for success. There's no question about that. RFA is impressive. How rapidly they've developed capability. The fact that they have a booster sitting here on a launch pad, and there are hordes of other European companies who want to launch rockets. None of them have anything here. So, non-resident foreign employees, just recall, no, you have to be a citizen. Yeah. You can't. You get a long term. A long duration work visa would be easy to get. If a company really wanted somebody, they could get them a long duration work visa. The American restrictions on international employees when we're talking about the spaceflight industry or anything associated with rockets and ITAR, really, really restricted. Once again, I am not a fan of that at all. I think that is narrow-minded. There's a lot of talented people. And if we're concerned about security and espionage and well, it's a well-known fact that no American citizen has ever given away tons of American military secrets in exchange for money or sex, right? Everybody knows that, right? Being very sarcastic. So, yeah, I think that the potential for espionage exists regardless of what country a person is a citizen of. If they run into financial difficulties, or they're just lonely, or whatever, that's definitely something that a Russian or a Chinese agent can use against them. I just don't understand the international thing. All right, still waiting. We are now maybe about 15 minutes away from things commencing. Again, we can't be certain about that. And of course, things are probably going to start out pretty small and slowly build up with more and more paper building up around the rocket. So you'll see. Carl, thank you very much for talking, explaining the situation. and Carl is spelling that phonetically. In German, it would be K-O with an umlaut L-N, or Karl L-N, I guess. You could say that in German. But yes, I appreciate that German pronunciation. Munich, of course, is probably one of the more famous ones. Munich, the pronunciation is actually mentioned, at least for most of the people who lived out in that region of the country. If you are in northern Germany, you would pronounce it München. Uh, so a little bit harsher, a little bit more of a sound to what they do. Waiting to see. Yeah, very, yeah. Sorry, my ability to hear anyone is very restricted. Today, it's the wind is continues to just go and go and go. The wind just never stops around here. Um, so we just has to deal with it. And I'll tell you, these brief moments where the sun comes out, they are very, 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 very welcome. Because when the sun comes out, it really does warm up a lot. The wind doesn't feel quite so awful when the clouds move in and it obscures the sun. You definitely chills your skin in a big way. All right, so continuing to wait. We have, like I said, as I said before, about 12 minutes, hopefully. I have seen no evidence of anyone around the pad. Again, that's a good thing because they should have had a pad clear some time ago, about 52 minutes ago. So it's very likely that this process is going to get going again here soon. Waiting for other people to arrive. I started my broadcast, and there's a Swiss gentleman who is a Emmy award nominated a documentarian who is making a film about all of this, about the spaceport, Shetland, etc. He was helping me for a while, but then he had to go for a bit. Hopefully he'll be back soon. And I would really like to have a little bit more assistance at the moment. But as I've said a number of times, I signed up for this. So this is just what you did. But please don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody who's still watching. And like I say, we really don't have a great deal of time left before this should get started. One would hope. Again, all of this is all of this. I tell you, waiting a long time, and obviously with all the delays, waiting a lot longer than we anticipated. So once again, appreciate everybody checking in. The documentarian. Oh, it's German Swiss. German Swiss. Although, from what I understand, the Swiss language very similar to German, but I mean very similar, but there's just pronunciation differences. But a lot of it is very similar. But of course, many other languages are spoken in Switzerland quite commonly. We have French and Italian being spoken very commonly in Switzerland. Switzerland is a really interesting place, simply because it's such a small, beautiful country. It's just incomparable mountains and all that. But it has such a diverse population, really diverse population. Just say many languages being spoken. Also, you have a lot more permissive gun laws in Switzerland than you have elsewhere. It's not nearly as permissive as the United States. Everyone gets an assault rifle or something like that when they muster out from their military service. But those weapons are not necessarily available anytime you want them. You can't just keep them in your house. It used to be that you could, but I think that that's changed, especially in the aftermath of a massacre that took place there not that long ago. But still, their gun laws are still way more permissive than most places in Europe. For what that's worth. I've never been there. I'm hoping to go there sometime. I've gotten a chance to meet a number of people from Switzerland recently. So Van Gogh, I think, or Gogh. I have no idea. Van Gogh. Yeah, it's I'll tell you, Van Gogh is just such an easier way to say it. Much easier. 8 minutes, supposedly. Supposedly. Once again, this is not, this is by no means an exact science. There's no countdown clock or anything like that. Okay. We just got an update that we have a pad sweep at 7. That's 8 minutes away, and that's the pad sweep. My God. So are we still that far behind? It certainly seems that way. Well, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening here. I've seen 0 activity at the pad. But nevertheless, they may not have done the official pad sweep. Or, yeah, that's disappointing. I was hoping to really start seeing something in the next 8 minutes. Okay. It appears that we are not going to have any further activity for another 45 minutes. So once again, I am going to step away and I'm going to try to put this tripod in a place that's secure and a place where you guys can continue looking at the pretty landscape. And I'm gonna walk around for a bit again and stretch my legs. I may be gone for a little bit longer this time. It depends, maybe around 20 minutes or so. So it'll take me a few minutes to get this set up properly, and I'll be back in a little bit. How's that? Viewers, can you hear me? Okay. Well, just yes, I would say it's probably true. The question that was just asked. You have to remember that the time this island was this this island was transition into ownership of Scotland until the time of the Renaissance until the 1500s. Prior to that, the King of Norway owned this place, and the Vikings settled this. Okay, we got bad audio from what I understand. I think I know why. That sounds good to you. I think it's because I set up. I pulled the camera a bit closer to me and turned it away from the wind. That's why. Um, so anyway, yeah, I mean, you see evidence of Norse habitation everywhere on this island and everywhere in Shetland. Period. Um, it's just the way this place was colonized by Vikings in the 900s. I mean, it's just, and also I went to a cemetery here in Unst that's within walking distance of the RAF base, and it is astonishing. You don't see any of the Mac type of names. You don't see McDonald or it's Mackay or any of those. You see everything ending in son, son, which is that's you don't get any more Norwegian or Norse than that. Is ending your name with the son is just a son of, in other words, which is again very very common. As a matter of fact, today, for those of you who aren't as familiar with Icelandic culture, there are no last names in Iceland, at least not as we understand them. You are instead the son of whoever your dad was, or the daughter of whoever your dad was. Although these days, sometimes you're getting daughter of whoever your mother was. Sometimes women are doing that. But yeah, so you'll have like Harald's daughter or Harold's son of Harold, daughter of Harold. That's how your last name is. And so it changes with every generation because obviously you have the parents' names change. It's very interesting. And by the way, that the patronymic tradition also exists in Russian. You get quite a lot of that sort of thing in Russian, even though Russian also has proper last names, but you'll have a last name and a patronymic last name too, based on whoever your father was. Um, so it's interesting that how different these languages are uh, compared to what we're accustomed to. But yeah, I saw the son. I mean, everywhere. I'd say 70% of the people buried in that graveyard, and it's also was a Commonwealth uh, gravesite to quite a number of those Commonwealth uh, war gravesites, mostly from the First World War, and it had a list of every person, every man of Unst who was killed in the Great War, the war to end all wars. And that was a sobering experience to read all of that. And a lot of these men were older than you might think. I didn't see a single grave that belonged to a 19-year-old. There were, some in their 20s, but also some in their 30s, some in their 40s. There was an interesting range of ages. It's only fairly recently, actually, that military service has been a profession for the young. Especially, of course, most of you guys are familiar with that famous song 19, about the, the draftees of the Vietnam War were on average 19 years old, which was a huge departure from how things were prior to that. The average person was, I believe, in his early 30s. The average American was in his early 30s in the Second World War. But since Vietnam was fought primarily by soldiers who were young men who were forced into it, or young men who volunteered when they were kind of young and enthusiastic to fight communists. You had a lot of young people, and you continue to get that to this day. Now, of course, military service is a popular pursuit of the young people who are looking for college money, looking for a way to get some extra cash while they're getting their education. There's a lot of that at the GI Bill and all that initiative that is used to try to recruit young people into the Army, and it just wasn't as much the case back in the day. So you had a lot more, well, the Second World War especially, you had a lot of people volunteered for that war, for obvious reasons. And so you had a lot of more people who were older. And in Britain, that was the case too, in both the Great War and in the Second World War. There are a lot of the British Army has been a mostly volunteer force for quite some time. Of course, there was definitely some conscription in the First World War, especially. But for the most part, there is a strong sense of patriotic obligation on the part of a lot of British citizens when it comes to joining the military if their country is at war. So therefore again you had a big range of ages, people in their 30s and 40s volunteering as often as you get people who are super young. 80% retire after 15 years, so just before 40. Yeah, it's where they get started in the career very young. And before it wasn't necessarily something you went into right when you graduated college, often, or graduated high school rather, or just when you came of age. There's so many responsibilities that young men had way back then when they were young. They had to work on the farm or work in a shop or whatever. They were expected to do a lot of that sort of thing. And so to just chuck them off to the Army to possibly be killed is something a lot of families were not really all that happy to do. So you'd get volunteers from a whole range of people. And also, you would also, oh, did I just lose my train of thought? Oh, a lot, especially during the First World War, there's a lot of people getting recruited in pubs. A lot of NCOs would go into pubs, wait for these guys to get drunk, and then have them sign the list. Take advantage of that. So, yeah. So it's interesting. And by the way, I've always had, growing up in a military town. I grew up in Colorado Springs, which big Air Force town, big Army town. And I've always had the greatest respect for people who are career military, who put in there for full 20 years or even longer. I've always had a lot of respect for those folks. Definitely need people who are willing to do that in order to and regardless of whether you're American or British, German, whatever, you need those kinds of people in order to keep your people safe. Anyway, any word? Okay, this will not. This in terms of when this will launch. The launch will likely happen sometime in September, maybe early October. And that is a regulatory thing more than it's a technological thing. RFA claims the latest statement that they gave me was that they would be ready to stack the rocket. Ooh, that was a beautiful dive. I don't know if you guys saw that. There was a bird that just plunged down to take a shot at a fish. That was a spectacular dive. They just anyway. Yeah, really neat stuff. Yeah, I don't know if recruiters, I don't think recruiters do that anymore, but obviously they show up at high schools, Michael, and do a lot of recruiting. Also, sadly, in the Vietnam War, there was a very high percentage of African Americans who were drafted. A disproportionately high percentage of African Americans compared to their representation in the U.S. population. They're much higher percentage, and there's been a lot of things written about that. Just a pretty ugly part of our history, to be honest. So anyway, slip in your pint. Yes, it's like I say, all kinds of tricks to get people to go off and risk their lives. There's no question. It's not an easy thing to convince people to do, but it does happen a lot. So again, we continue to patiently wait for things to get started. I think we are getting. I keep saying this, but I think we are getting really close. Um, the pad has been cleared for some time now, at least as best as I can tell. They've done a pad. They did a pad. The pad sweep I think was complete at least half an hour ago, or close to a half an hour ago. So this prop load should get going here soon. And given how late they are proceeding with this, it is likely that this wet dress rehearsal is going to continue until 11 p.m. UK time. So about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to be out here for the duration. Unless my charger runs out of juice, but I don't think so. The Starlink doesn't pull a lot of power. So, and I do have my laptop and cell phone plugged into it as well, but I don't think it's good. I don't think it's all that different. But please don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, and we may lose our producer before they complete that. Don't know if he can maybe pre-program it to stop at a certain point or something like that. But anyway, yeah, it is a late night commitment to follow this, and this is way later than we were thinking. We were thinking that the pad was going to be clear by 3 p.m. and then we would commence with the. I'm sorry. Go ahead, producer. Yeah. Well, I apologize. Yeah, our producer has an issue that may cause some complications here. We'll see how things develop. It's just because this is going way the hell later than it was supposed to. So it's possible that we may have to terminate this before the wet dress rehearsal actually is finished. Although you're going to get to see the best parts of it. You're going to see the best parts of all the the prop load and all that is always very impressive. And then, regardless of what happens to our live stream broadcast, um, I will definitely stay and film the moment when make sure that we stay to film the moment when they vent all the propellants and everything like that. So I'll make sure to catch all that. Will I be releasing a video about Falcon 9's return to service? No, because I've already kind of discussed it. Um, when I talked about it on Sunday, or what was it? Or what was it? Tuesday? I don't remember when I did my live stream. But when I discussed that, it was assumed that the FAA was going to give SpaceX permission to proceed with their launches, even though the FAA investigation is not yet complete. Falcon 9 definitely. I mean, it appears that the problem's relatively minor. They already have a fix for it, but the fix is sort of, well, it's a fix that may not satisfy everybody. It's a sensor in the engine that apparently ruptured, creating part of a coolant leak. I mean, it was, and so as a result, they've simply removed that sensor from the engines from all future launches. And they're saying that sensor isn't really necessary. Well, again, my position on that would be, if that's the case, then why was that sensor there in the first place? I mean, it has to have a reason, it has to have a purpose. So I'm pretty sure that NASA will require that a more comprehensive fix for the issue be implemented before they're going to go forward with any Falcon 9 missions. And it could be also that insurance companies are going to be hesitant to allow or to insure the payloads on Falcon 9 until the FAA investigation is complete. And that could definitely be used as an excuse by an insurance company to not insure um, the insure the payload. Um, but is that really how it's going to go? Hard to say. It could be that some payloads will be fine with it. Some insurance companies may be fine with it. They may say, okay, well, yeah, SpaceX, it sounds like you have a good enough solution in place. Or it may require that SpaceX will, yeah, it's the tripod. I'm sorry, the tripod is an issue. The biggest problem is that I'm gesturing too much. I'm sitting on a park bench with surrounded by equipment, getting this done. So in any event, I apologize for that. Like I say, I mean, it is a tripod, so to speak. It's a mini tripod that's propped against my laptop. Just to be clear, it is a tripod, yes, but it's a tripod that isn't sitting on a solid on a solid surface. Um, so, in any event, sorry about that. FA's given ahead. Falcon 9, go ahead, another launch. Yeah, I do know that. It's just the go aheads again are for um,
folks, it's ASN here. We've just lost power for Jordan on site. So we are going to end this broadcast. Unfortunately, Jordan and I are discussing his operating via his mobile. So keep an eye on the channel. We apologise once again and thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, folks.